has come for me to complete a task that I think every fantasy author needs to go through at some point, or making maps. Hi, if you don't know me, I'm Caitlin. I'm a writer documenting my entire process to becoming a published author, and I'm currently working on draft 2 of my very first novel. If you like My Lady Jane or Renegade Nell, you might like my novel Sir Callan Gray's Final Lament. It's a soft fantasy that follows a disgraced medieval knight and a time-traveling journalist as she tries to uncover the truth behind his exiling. I wish that I had saved the original video, so if this was you or someone that you know, please tag them so that I can give them credit. But basically, there was a creator over on Instagram who had mentioned that fantasy maps are kind of boring, and I agree. I feel like most of the fantasy maps that are in the beginning of the books are just rice blobs with pointy mountains, obviously not their words but mine. The creator mentioned that cartography has been around for literally ever, and there's just so many different styles of maps that were influenced by the cultures that they were born from, and I just thought that that was such a cool observation. They then proceeded to show maps of all different kinds from all over the world and throughout history, and some were circular and some were sized based on importance, and it really had me falling down a rabbit hole. And I thought to myself, I hate making maps, but I love this idea that a map can tell a unique story in itself. And then I started to wonder about what it might look like if Callan, who is my main character, were to draw a map himself, which is actually pretty on par for his character. And then I started to think about what that place might look like if it were cataloged by Will. And so yeah, today we're gonna make maps. I did go onto Pinterest and find some examples of fantasy maps that I really liked and thought were a bit unique. Here they are. I think most of them are from fantasy novels, maybe middle grade and young adult. Do not fact check me on that. Pause for the wind. And so now that I have some inspiration, I think I'm just gonna start. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't usually make maps, but I do kind of already have this vision of how the world looks to Cal, and so I'm hoping that that part of my brain just kind of takes over and we end up with something cool. Hello, it's voiceover me here. I thought we could have a little chat while I worked on this map. And full disclosure, I was feeling a little overzealous in the beginning because by the time I finished the first one, I did not want to do the second one. But anyways, I haven't written anything in the past 2 weeks, and that wasn't intentional, but honestly, taking time away has always been so helpful for my creative process, and I feel like it truly recenters me and brings me back to the why of it all. And then when I'm itching to get back into the project, that's how I know my break is over. I used to write a lot as a kid, and it was mostly just because I loved the escape. I loved the characters I would create, and I imagined myself in the story, yes, but I also imagined myself in a lot of them. I know I've said it before, but my characters are all truly an extension of the ugliest parts of me. Their jealousy and fear and impatience. And I used to hate sharing my work with anyone because of that. I was afraid that I would be seen, but I'm learning that it's okay to be seen in your work. In fact, I think that's what makes it good. I used to hate my art because it never really felt real enough, and now I'm realizing that the real is the artist being unafraid to show themselves, and if not unafraid, then at least doing it regardless of the fear. Sharing your unfinished work with others can be daunting, but it can also be rewarding. Because if my friends can read my chapters and love my characters, then it not only means that I'm doing something right within my writing, but that I'm doing something right within myself. This book has definitely been a testament of my character. I have experienced so many highs and lows over the course of these past 8 months. I've had triumphs and breakthroughs, but I've also had self-doubt and fear and comparison issues, and that's why stepping back has always been good for me. Because it reminds me that I'm not writing for anyone else. Is the end goal to be published one day? Absolutely, but truly I'm writing the book that I want to write. And when I start to freak out about how it doesn't fit neatly into a box, or it isn't necessarily the most marketable, I have to metaphorically slap myself out of it, because who cares? When I was 14 and writing fan fiction, it wasn't because I wanted to be published, it was because all I've ever known is writing, and I wanted to be a part of something, and because I've always been too imaginative for my own good. Sometimes it feels like not a day goes by that I'm not thinking up a new story. Literally an offhand comment from my friends, and I'm suddenly thinking, that's a cool perspective, or what might that world look like? And it's really a fun place to be, for sure, but it also means that my mind is running 24/7. Like, genuinely, there are so many good ideas, even in my dreams. But it also means that I have trouble focusing on just one project at a time. Project Lament has truly been the only project that has had some semblance of progress. There is a light in this tunnel, and it's not just a bunch of words or ideas floating around a document. It's kind of living and breathing and growing, which is crazy to think about because nothing else has taken on this life so tangibly before. There are definitely times when I think that it could be bigger, the world could be more expanded, or the characters could live in their conflict for longer, but also, knowing me, I'm pretty sure I'm overthinking it. I think the plan for the next few days is going to be to take a step back and look at the story as a whole, and write out the major changes that I need to make for each chapter to feel complete enough for a draft 2, and then to table those chapters when I've made the basic changes. Lately, I've been finding myself too encompassed in the small details, and don't get me wrong, I love rewriting and editing, but I'm afraid that I'm holding myself back by going super slow through this part. Or maybe I'm not, and nothing matters, and the process looks different for everyone, and at the end of it all, I will still have the book. My favorite piece of advice for new writers out there is that your audience is that your audience is smarter than you think they are. They'll already have some semblance of genre, and more than likely they'll be filling in the gaps. But as I'm editing, I'm finding myself wondering, but will they? Will they know that this is what I meant? Will they realize that my characters are this way for a reason? But a trick that's been helping me to know that is to picture the scenes as if they were in an animated show. And they kind of show up in my head like Dragon Prince, which I love, by the way, and totally recommend. And honestly, that's helped a lot because, again, your audience will start to make assumptions and inferences subconsciously. And I say, let your audience do the heavy lifting. And it works. It helps me realize that, yeah, if I were watching this scene instead of reading it, I would have already fallen in love with this character's dynamic, or I would have already assumed the relationships between these two characters. So definitely try that out if you too are struggling with wondering if anything makes sense at all. That and space have been my two biggest tricks during the revision phase. And while I have you here, I just wanted to say how grateful I am that I have you. To those of you who look forward to my videos and who are always uplifting me and each other in the comments, thank you. Writing can be such a solitary experience, but you've honestly encouraged me so much, especially on the days that I didn't even realize that I needed it. I love seeing your excitement for my project, and I love how proud you are of me when I accomplish even the smallest of feats within my book. I'm eternally grateful for you, and I hope your projects are going well. You should definitely give me a little update in the comments because I feel like I haven't gotten a good update from you since November. How are things going? Are you enjoying your summer? I miss you, and I'm really looking forward to the frenzy that is drafting in November. As we're nearing the end here, I also wanted to say that I loved how the design of this map was turning out, but I really wish I hadn't lined it in Sharpie. I think thinner lines would have given me the effect I wanted, but I was also dog sitting, so I didn't have all of my art supplies with me. I do think I'll put it into Procreate later and redo it, and while I don't think it'll actually end up in the book, I am glad that I still tried this, because it really does capture how I imagine it while I'm writing, except for everything is backwards. Like, I see it from behind the castle, looking out, but I wasn't sure how to design that, so this is what you get. Okay, I'm gonna leave you for now. Enjoy the last couple minutes of ASMR while I color this in, and I'll talk to you guys later. well, she's completed. It's definitely weird. It's also giving like coloring page at a restaurant on the kids menu. It was really fun to make though, and it's kind of cool that it ended up actually kind of looking how I envision the world, even through like Callan's eyes, but also just like my own. It is really fun to do other creative things that are still within the realm of writing, but aren't necessarily writing. This was a really great exercise to kind of get back into the world, and I am really excited to write some more tomorrow. That is going to be it for me for today. Thank you for hanging out with me. If you had fun, please consider liking and subscribing, and I will see you all in the next one. Happy writing. I was going to sit there.